Good morning, good afternoon to Boyce Academy. It is Monday, Martin Luther King Day, coming back from a 3-day weekend. This is going to be nice, but we're not truly coming back, are we? Because we are starting a second week of NTI, non-traditional instruction. So, bell ringer question number 1 for you. How's that whole COVID situation going right now? Bell ringer question number 1, how's that whole COVID situation going right now? Based on Okay. Let's delve a little bit deeper, though. I want to hit both news about COVID as well as news related to other things. Things that are bad, things that are good. Bell ringer question number 2 for you is going to be, what problem is the healthcare industry, what problem is the healthcare sector facing right now?
Hey man.
Oh, what's up?
So we got some new guidelines for you.
Okay.
As a healthcare worker, when you get COVID...
When I get COVID?
If you get COVID, then you have to return to work.
Have to return to work?
Get to return to work after 7 days instead of 10 after infection.
Why?
Hey, listen to what he says. You hero? Well, the coronavirus is changing life for all of us, and we know that times can be tough for our healthcare worker, and healthcare worker? What do you mean healthcare worker?
Am I the only one left?
Don't be ridiculous.
Our hospitals are brimming with other people right now.
Are they patients?
Yes.
What?
And the National Guard.
Okay, we gotta keep this moving. Regular guy?
Yeah.
So you guys only need to isolate for 5 days instead of 10 now.
Oh, I was doing that already.
Okay, but just make sure to keep that mask on.
Probably won't.
Okay. Yeah, a healthcare worker, you might want to watch out for that guy. He quit.
Man. Okay, I'll call up some med schools.
One more time, bell ringer question number 2 is, what problem is the healthcare industry facing right now because of COVID?
There's a lot of COVID patients in there.
Yeah.
You know about this?
Yeah.
Oh, well, would you mind heading back in? It looks like they really need you.
Look, I've been doing this for more than a year.
Right.
And people keep getting COVID.
Yes.
And I've been asked to do extra overtime. Now, I was thinking, so I could get paid for what I work, maybe I get an additional $20 to $30 per hour. So...
Oh, was that you asking?
Yes, I was asking. 20 to 30 more an hour.
Got it. Yeah, we can't do that.
What?
How about instead you take this mandatory wellness module?
Okay, now, I'm quitting.
Wait, what? First responders, heroes. Nope, not this time. Not getting away with it. Wait, now what are we gonna do? We have a shortage of nurses.
Hey, do you need help? Weren't you just...
I was, but now I'm a traveling nurse. I go to hospitals with staffing shortages and work until they don't need me anymore. Oh, great, because we need you.
Cool, so my rate is like 20 to 30 more per hour than what it was when I worked here.
We can do 40 to 50.
Sounds good.
Great. This makes sense.
All right, so healthcare professionals, especially nurses, but healthcare professionals overall are very unhappy with the whole working conditions and situation right now. I can tell you it's not just nurses because my brother's an ER doctor, and working in the ER is a situation he doesn't like being in at the moment. It is worth considering, though, that things could always be worse. So, based on this next video, tell me at least one time in history where things have been worse. That's bell ringer question number 3. Tell me one time in history that things have been worse than they are right now.
2020 and 2021. It was a close race, but the title of worst year ever goes to... Don't forget about me! Who are you? I'm 1945. I dropped the atomic bombs on Japan. Right, okay, well, I'm sure we'll consider... Oh, and me! And you are? 1346. I created the Black Plague that killed nearly 200 million people. Fine, okay, let's... And don't be forgetting old 66 million BC! My god, what did you do? Hello? Asteroid? Wiped out almost all of life on Earth? Yeah, that is bad. Hey, sorry, am I late? 2022. And why are you here? Oh, you'll see.
Your family doesn't need to be working in a hospital to be feeling a lot of these changes. This is something that's happening throughout the entire economy. We refer to this as disruption, a period of time when the way things usually work slow down or stop and are forced to adapt. So, what's forcing that adaptation? If we look outside of hospitals, based on this next video, if we look outside of hospitals, what common problem is being faced by businesses? Bellringer question number 4. If we look outside of hospitals, at other businesses, what problem is being faced?
I normally don't do this, but let me tell you why having a sense of humor in the workplace is probably a bad idea. So we are severely understaffed. Like most places right now, we are understaffed. And when you are understaffed at your job, especially like a food place, it's the wild, wild west. Literally anything goes. It's improv. You got to learn how to do things you might not know how to do because you don't have anybody for that position. I didn't learn that part. So I work at a pizza place. I get to work. I'm the only one here. Everyone else called out, including the cook, apparently. A guy walked in, he's like, hey man, can I get a pizza? I'm like, well, I don't know how to make pizza, so yeah, I can try though. He's like, well, how long is it gonna take? I'm like, probably an hour and a half, because I have to open a YouTube video on how to do this. He's like, an hour and a half? I said, yeah. He's like, well, let me talk to your manager. I'm like, well, that's also me today. He's like, well, let me call corporate. I give him my phone number, and as he's calling, I put my glasses on, and when he answers, I answer the phone and go, hello, corporate, how are you? Yeah, he left. I'm pretty sure he's gonna give me a bad review, and now I'm waiting outside for my actual boss. I don't know where.
The point is that we live in weird times, and society is essentially taking all of the job cards and just shuffling the whole deck over again. That's putting a lot of people in a situation very much like yours, where you're having to ask yourself what you want to do for work. What are you going to do when you're older? For a lot of these adults, that question is now. You see from before that what a lot of companies are experiencing is that work is stressful because a lot of their coworkers are leaving as that deck gets reshuffled. So for you, you have the hard question of, what do I try first? It's always okay to do more than one thing, but whatever you do, be a good one. There's my life tip for you. Whatever you do, be a good one. And Bellringer question number 5, based on these next clips, which job skill do you find most impressive? Bellringer question number 5, which of these next job skills do you find most impressive when performed at a mastery level?
Life is a drink and love's a drug. Must be my years up when I was a river dried up. It came to rain and flood. Drink from me when I was so thirsty. Put on a symphony. No, I just can't get it up. But you was on me when I was so heavy. Pour on a symphony when I'm feeling drunk and high, so high, so high. Life is a drink and love's a drug. Must be my years up when I was a river dried up. It came to rain and flood. Drink from me when I was so thirsty. Put on a symphony. No, I just can't get it up. But you was on me when I was so heavy. Pour on a symphony when I'm feeling drunk and high.
All right, so the systems that we're used to are being disrupted, but it doesn't mean that all of the economics, politics, and science stops humming along. So because of that, I want to really focus on some other news. Here, let's do 2 bits of science news. Bellringer question number 6 for you. Since I think we need to be thinking about bigger things, what do you think? Bellringer question number 6. What do you think about this new technology?
It appears that the metaverse is already here for cows, but is it good or is it depressing? Let's talk about it, shall we? In Turkey, a rancher has started putting virtual reality headsets on his cattle to see if they produce more milk when they think they're outside in a nice sunny field. Believe it or not, early results from the experiment show that it actually does help the cows produce more milk. Remarkably, the cows went from producing 22 liters of milk to 27 liters of milk a day. That's a huge difference, such a big difference that they're going to be expanding and adding more headsets to more cows, meaning that other people will probably catch on and do the same thing. Is it just me, or is this storyline starting to sound pretty familiar? The headsets were initially created in Turkey because cows spend a lot of time during harsh winters indoors, and they were meant to trick them to thinking that they were outside so they'd produce more milk and be happier. But is this the right choice? Do you think that trapping in living beings inside of a metaverse that gives them a better life while producing products for another species is the right thing to do, or have we gone too far?
One more time, bell ringer question number 6. Do you think that putting VR headsets on cows to give them a better life in order to produce products for another species is a good thing, or have we gone too far?
It appears that the metaverse is already here for cows, but is it good or is it depressing? Let's talk about it, shall we? In Turkey, a rancher has started putting virtual reality headsets on his cattle to see if they produce more milk when they think they're outside in a nice sunny field. Believe it or not, early results from the experiment show that it actually does help the cows produce more milk. Remarkably, the cows went from producing 22 liters of milk to 27 liters of milk a day. That's a huge difference, such a big difference that they're going to be expanding and adding more headsets to more cows, meaning that other people will probably catch on and do the same thing. Is it just me, or is this storyline starting to sound pretty familiar? The headsets were initially created in Turkey because cows spend a lot of time during harsh winters indoors, and they were meant to trick them to thinking that they were outside so they'd produce more milk and be happier. But is this the right choice? Do you think that trapping in living beings inside of a metaverse that gives them a better life while producing products for another species is the right thing to do, or have we gone too far?
Not an easy one, right? Got a second one for you. Bell ringer question number 7. Bell ringer question number 7 is going to be, what new biotech breakthrough just happened? It was a transplant. What new transplant just happened as a breakthrough in biotech? And as a follow-up question with number 7, what do you think about the potential of that?
As somebody who studies the future for a living, this is one of the biggest medical breakthroughs of our time. Doctors just transplanted the heart of a pig into the body of a human. And I understand any personal reaction to that sentence. But I want to tell you where this technology is going. First and foremost, there were no shortage of technological breakthroughs involved here. For example, gene editing was used to edit some of the genes of the pig's heart so the human recipient wouldn't reject it. And then the technology of being able to properly store the pig's heart prior to surgery. Okay, so where is this technology going in the future? Every day in the US alone, 17 people die because they don't have access to a transplant they need. And you might be thinking, great, here humans go again exploiting animals. And I'm with you on that. But this isn't where the technology is staying. This technology is intersecting with synthetic biology, such as lab-grown meat, which means in the future, we'll be able to grow human organs in a lab. And when you combine it with other technologies like genome sequencing, we can grow personal backup organs. This is just the beginning. I'm gonna keep you in the loop with all of this technology.
I'll give your brain a brief break from the philosophical musing. It will be back in just a sec, though. Since we just did 2 serious questions in science news, let's shift over and find some more lighthearted ones in the news overall. So, bell ringer questions number 8 and number 9 are going to be the same. I'm going to show you 2 clips, each one showing a series of news bits. And I want you to pick one that you find most interesting or want to remember. So bell ringer question number 8, which of the clips, which of these bits of news do you find most interesting or want to remember and share with someone else? Same for number 9.
Here's some of the best news from 2021. Thanks to amazing conservation efforts, giant pandas are no longer an endangered species. A study found that the ozone layer is healing and could fully recover by 2050. Mexico became the first country in North America to ban animal testing for cosmetics. Octopuses, crabs and lobsters were recognised as sentient beings under UK law. A herd of 16 plain bisons released into Banff National Park in 2017 has now grown to a herd of 63. More than 50 countries committed to protecting 30% of Earth's land and oceans. Humpback whales have been thriving in Alaska without cruise ships. Florida lawmakers unanimously voted to spend $300 million on conservation. Hawaii became the first state in the US to ban coral harming sunscreen. The $9 billion Keystone XL oil pipeline was cancelled thanks to opposition from US landowners, Native American tribes and environmentalists. Follow to keep up to date with good news in 2022. Here's some good news to start your 2022. Ed Sheeran has said he's on a mission to rewild as much of the UK as he can and plans to buy as much land to plant trees on as possible. From New Year's Day, France has introduced its new law banning plastic packaging on most fruit and veg. Italy has voted to ban fur farming and to close its remaining 10 mink farms within 6 months. Paraguay now produces 100% renewable electric energy. And it was announced on New Year's Eve that Scotland generated the equivalent of 98.6% of its electricity from renewables in 2020. And as there are less tourists disrupting precious ecosystems in Thailand, sea turtles are thriving in peace. Follow for more good news in this new year.
Actually, I already showed you both clips. As you can see, not all news is totally depressing. One more time, Barometer questions numbers 8 and 9 for you are going to be sharing 2 interesting bits of news from those 2 clips. Share 2 interesting bits of news for numbers 8 and 9 that you find interesting, that you'd like to share with somebody, or you just find them to be overall positive and a nice break from all the negativity.
Here's some of the best news from 2021. Thanks to amazing conservation efforts, giant pandas are no longer an endangered species. A study found that the ozone layer is healing and could fully recover by 2050. Mexico became the first country in North America to ban animal testing for cosmetics. Octopuses, crabs and lobsters were recognised as sentient beings under UK law. A herd of 16 plain bisons released into Banff National Park in 2017 has now grown to a herd of 63. More than 50 countries committed to protecting 30% of Earth's land and oceans. Humpback whales have been thriving in Alaska without cruise ships. Florida lawmakers unanimously voted to spend $300 million on conservation. Hawaii became the first state in the US to ban coral harming sunscreen. The $9 billion Keystone XL oil pipeline was cancelled thanks to opposition from US landowners, Native American tribes and environmentalists. Follow to keep up to date with good news in 2022. Here's some good news to start your 2022. Ed Sheeran has said he's on a mission to rewild as much of the UK as he can and plans to buy as much land to plant trees on as possible. From New Year's Day, France has introduced its new law banning plastic packaging on most fruit and veg. Italy has voted to ban fur farming and to close its remaining 10 mink farms within 6 months. Paraguay now produces 100% renewable electric energy. And it was announced on New Year's Eve that Scotland generated the equivalent of 98.6% of its electricity from renewables in 2020. And as there are less tourists disrupting precious ecosystems in Thailand, sea turtles are thriving in peace. Follow for more good news in this new year.
All right, we got quite a few of them today. Barometer question number 10 is going to be, trying to get you guys to have some perspective here. Pick one of these facts that mess with your perception of time. Pick one of these facts that mess with your perception of time that you want to remember.
Facts that will mess with your perception of time. Anne Frank and Martin Luther King would be the same age if they were alive today. Queen Elizabeth and Marilyn Monroe were both the same age as well. Here they are when they were both 30 years old meeting each other. George Washington died 25 years before the first dinosaur fossil was found. George Washington did not know about the existence of dinosaurs. Woolly mammoths were still walking around the earth 1,000 years after the pyramids were built. Also, Cleopatra was alive closer in time to the moon landings than the building of the Great Pyramid. NASA was already exploring space by the time scientists could agree on how plate tectonics worked. Follow for more.
Mr. Ferguson! What's the meaning of life? Also, when are you gonna get a haircut? All right, starting off with the only 2 questions that matter, I guess. Hopefully this week. That was the plan. It's desperately needed, I agree. For the harder question, though, I want to give you some things to think about first.
Так дайте пацанам посчитать потери. Суммы нули погибают на сцене. Снова один, прогуляюсь без тени. Заливаю лик, поцелуй на шее. Капитан.
We are on a speck of dust right now, okay? We are on a speck of dust hurtling through space. So I don't think we should overthink this. Bell ringer question number 11. According to Mr. Storkerson, what is a simple way to live a meaningful life? Okay, so that last one was asked by you guys, but I would like to add 2 additional tips. So bell ringer question number 12 is going to be, based on the next 2 clips, what are Mr. Storkerson's general life tips?
As somebody who said,
what do you have motivation for right now? Like, what am I motivated to do? I don't think about that a lot. Can I segue that into something cheesy? Yeah, no, don't worry about motivation. Motivation is fleeting. Don't do what you're motivated to do. Do what you have to do. It's not the people who have a lot of motivation who succeed. It's the people who work when they're not motivated who succeed. Make sure that you're not driven by motivation. Make sure you're driven by self-discipline. What do you have motivation?
Reminder that contrary to popular belief, you actually don't have to be any good at your hobbies whatsoever. You can actually do things just for the joy and pleasure of doing.
All right, there you go. Bell ringer questions 1 through 12 for another week of NTI. Second week, hopefully the last week. Regardless of how this plays out, hope everything goes great for you guys, and I look forward to having you back in the classroom.
G-H, I love you still, and you know I always will. Till the end of time, I won't change my mind.